My name is Emma Zhang, and my journey began with soil-stained fingers and dreams that reached beyond the horizon. Growing up in my family's small flower shop taught me more than arranging blossoms. It instilled in me lessons about resilience, ambition, and the true essence of success. Emma, every flower tells a story, my grandmother often said, her hands deftly trimming rose stems. But remember, it's the roots that give it strength. Her words lingered in my heart as I watched our little shop battle the rise of big box retailers and online competition. While my peers played with toys, I was learning the intricacies of profit margins and inventory management, determined to protect our legacy. By 16, I built our first online ordering system with nothing but YouTube tutorials and sheer grit. Emma, this is amazing. My father beamed as orders began pouring in. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. College offered new opportunities. Majoring in business and computer science, I created an AI-driven supply chain system tailored for perishable goods. What began as a solution for our shop soon garnered the interest of major retailers. Ms. Zhang, this is groundbreaking, my professor said, reviewing my thesis. By the time I graduated, my software was being piloted by Fortune 500 companies. That's when I met Michael. We crossed paths at a tech conference where I was presenting my software. Michael, representing his family's company, Brighton Enterprises, was intrigued. This is incredible, he said, his eyes lighting up. The possibilities are endless. Coffee turned into dinner, then into love. Michael's intelligence and humor won me over, but it wasn't long before I faced his family and the formidable Victoria Brighton. Victoria's imposing mansion loomed over me as I stepped inside for our first meeting. During dinner, she leaned in with a practiced smile. "And what is it that you do, Emma?" "I run a flower shop," I replied, omitting my role as a tech entrepreneur. I wanted her to see me for who I was, not what I had achieved. Her expression barely flickered, but the air grew colder. "How quaint," she said. From that moment, Victoria's subtle criticisms became a constant. She would make pointed comments at gatherings, reminding me, and everyone else, of my humble beginnings. Meanwhile, my company, Zhang Tech Solutions, flourished. We revolutionized supply chain management and expanded into new markets. Despite the success, I continued working at the flower shop 3 days a week. "Why do you still do this?" Michael asked one day as I arranged a wedding bouquet. "Because it grounds me," I said. "Success isn't just about climbing higher, it's about staying connected to your roots." Michael struggled to balance his family's opinions with our relationship. The tension deepened after our engagement. At every gathering, Victoria found new ways to highlight my quaint background. But when Brighton Enterprises began to falter, plagued by outdated systems and declining sales, I saw an opportunity. "Begin quietly acquiring Brighton stock," I instructed my CFO. The takeover was carefully orchestrated. By the time it was complete, I attended the Brighton family's annual Christmas party, ready to unveil the truth. "Emma, darling," Victoria called out, champagne in hand. "Tell us about your little shop. Supporting small businesses is so important." Laughter rippled through the room, but it stopped abruptly when Robert Chen, Brighton's CEO, entered. "Actually," Robert said, "Emma's business acumen is why I'm here tonight." Victoria froze. "What do you mean?" I stepped forward. "Robert is here to announce a major change." The room stilled as Robert continued. "As of last week, Zhang Tech Solutions acquired a controlling interest in Brighton Enterprises." Gasps filled the air. Victoria's champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. "That little shop," I said calmly, "helped me build Zhang Tech. And now, Brighton Enterprises is a subsidiary of my company." Michael turned to me, stunned. "Emma, why didn't you tell me?" "I tried," I said evenly, "but every time I started, you changed the subject or let your mother speak over me." Victoria's voice wavered. "You can't do this." Robert held up documentation. "It's already done. Zhang Tech's innovations are saving your company." "Your pilot programs," Victoria whispered. "The ones I rejected. That was your software." "Exactly," I said. "You saw the future and turned away. I didn't." For the first time, Victoria was silent, and as the room buzzed with murmurs, I realized that sometimes blooming where you're planted means shaking the very ground beneath you. "Yes," I said evenly, meeting Victoria's glare. I submitted the proposal through a subsidiary because I knew anything bearing my name would be dismissed outright. Your pride cost Brighton Enterprises millions in potential savings. The room buzzed with whispers, the kind that would ripple through charity galas and dinner parties for months. Victoria's perfectly curated social circle was witnessing a spectacle they'd never forget. Security will escort you to your office tomorrow to collect your personal belongings, I continued. Your severance package is generous, all things considered. Severance? Victoria's voice cracked, a faint tremor betraying her composure. You're firing me? The board made that decision unanimously, I replied. Your resistance to innovation and documented discriminatory management style left them no choice. Michael stepped between us, his expression pained. Emma, please, she's my mother. And for 2 years, I watched her belittle me while you stood by silently, I said, my voice steady. Now you can stand by as I rebuild something better from the ruins of her arrogance. Victoria's face turned crimson. You ungrateful little. Careful, Robert Chen interrupted smoothly, stepping forward. Anything you say could impact your severance. The air was stifling, heavy with the tension of dozens of eyes watching the drama unfold. Phones were discreetly recording. Socialites pretended not to eavesdrop, but no one missed a word. Michael, I said, softer now. I loved you. But during all those silent dinners and cruel remarks, I learned something. You never loved me enough to defend me. That's not fair, he protested weakly. Isn't it? 2 years, Michael. 2 years of watching her treat me like I was beneath her. Would you ever have stood up to her? His silence was louder than any answer. Victoria suddenly lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You can't do this to us. We're Brighton's. This company is our legacy. Security appeared instantly, prying her hand away with firm but polite efficiency. Your legacy, I said quietly, was built on pride and prejudice. Mine will be built on progress and respect. As Victoria was led away, still protesting, I turned to the room. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Brighton Enterprises begins a new chapter tomorrow. Robert raised his glass with a small smile. To our new CEO. The room erupted in hesitant applause, underscored by murmured conversations and furtive glances. Michael stood frozen, torn between following his mother and confronting me. Emma, he finally said, his voice soft. We need to talk about this. I slipped the engagement ring off my finger and placed it in his hand. No, Michael. We needed to talk about this 2 years ago. Now it's time to say goodbye. The next morning, the headlines were ablaze. Tech visionary acquires Brighton Enterprises in bold takeover. My phone buzzed nonstop with reporters seeking comments about the flower shop owner turned corporate mogul. Walking into Brighton's headquarters felt surreal. Employees stared as I passed, whispers trailing behind me. Victoria's former office, now mine, boasted a breathtaking view of the sea. Mrs. Zhang, Sarah, my assistant, appeared at the door. Victoria Brighton is in the lobby. She's demanding to see you. Is she alone? I asked. No, Mr. Brighton. Michael is with her. I sighed. Escort them to the conference room. Let's get this over with. Minutes later, I faced Victoria and Michael across a gleaming conference table. Victoria's tailored suit and polished demeanor couldn't mask her fury. You've made your point, she said through clenched teeth. Name your price. Excuse me? To sell the company back, she snapped. Everything has a price. I leaned back in my chair, folding my hands. Brighton Enterprises isn't for sale, Victoria. This isn't a negotiation tactic. You think you can run this company better than me? She demanded, her voice rising. The numbers suggest I already am. Your resistance to digital transformation and your outdated leadership drove this company into decline. And your personal biases, I paused, locking eyes with her, have only compounded the damage. Michael broke the tense silence. Emma, please. This is our family's legacy. And you squandered it, I said firmly. The board backed this acquisition because they recognize the need for change. Your family name won't shield you from market realities. Victoria's composure finally cracked. You vindictive little. Mrs. Brighton. Robert Chen interrupted as he entered the room, his tone measured. Your severance package includes provisions for professional conduct. Professional? She laughed bitterly. She stole our company. I purchased it legally, I said coolly. Your mismanagement made that possible. Now, shall we discuss the transition professionally, Or will security need to intervene again? Mikkel reached for my hand across the table. Emma, what about us? I pulled my hand away. There is no us, Michael. Last night proved that. Because I didn't defend you? He asked, his voice desperate. I was trying to keep the peace. No, I said, my voice soft but resolute. You were avoiding conflict, just like you always have. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. This isn't over. Oh, it is, Robert said firmly. Any attempts at retaliation or legal interference will be met with swift consequences. As they left, I turned to Robert. How's the internal response? Cautiously optimistic, he admitted. Your track record speaks for itself, but there's resistance in some corners. Over the following months, Brighton Enterprises transformed. Zhang Tech's innovations revitalized operations, and employee morale surged. Despite Victoria's attempts to undermine me through gossip and a failed lawsuit, the business world applauded our turnaround. One quiet afternoon, I visited my family's flower shop. My grandmother greeted me, her hands deftly arranging a bouquet of roses. I've been reading about you, she said with a knowing smile. Are you happy, Emma? I touched one of the soft petals, thinking of all that had happened. I'm proud. That's different from happy, isn't it? She nodded. Your roots made you strong. Just remember, even the tallest tree needs to bend with the wind sometimes. Are you telling me to show mercy? She smiled gently. I'm saying true strength lies in how you handle victory, not just how you win. Her words stayed with me. Perhaps it was time to wield my power differently. 1 year after the takeover, I sat in my office, skimming the latest quarterly reports. Zhang Brighton Innovation had surpassed every expectation. Our stock price had tripled, and employee satisfaction was at an all-time high. My phone buzzed with a message from Robert. Victoria Brighton is here. Says it's important. I paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard, before typing back, send her up. When Victoria entered, she looked almost unrecognizable. The designer ensembles and air of invincibility were gone, replaced by a plain business suit and the quiet weight of humility. Streaks of gray wove through her once flawless hair. Thank you for seeing me, she said, her voice subdued as she took a seat. What can I do for you, Victoria? She placed a neatly organized folder on my desk. These are the documents you requested, proof that I've completed the corporate ethics and diversity training programs. I glanced at the folder and nodded. After the lawsuit, her completion of those programs had been a condition for any future dialogue between us. And, I prompted, watching her carefully. And she hesitated, her composure faltering. You were right. About everything. I let my biases blind me to progress. I treated you, poorly because of my own insecurities. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. What brought about this realization? Losing everything, she admitted, her voice quiet. The company, my status, even Michael. He's moved to Singapore, running your Asian operations now. He's doing well there, I said, recalling the updates from my team. He is, she agreed. For the first time, he's finding his own path away from my shadow. And I had a lot of time to think. I folded my hands on the desk. So what is it you want, Victoria? A chance, she said simply. Not to lead. I know that's not possible anymore. But to contribute, to learn, to make amends. I pulled up her early career records on my laptop, scrolling through the highlights. Before you became COO, you were quite innovative, I noted. Your customer service protocols were groundbreaking for their time. A flicker of hope lit her eyes. I'm launching a new division, I continued. Customer Experience Innovation. It's a hybrid of tradition and modern technology, and it needs someone who understands both. The position reports to Robert, not me. Her expression wavered between surprise and disbelief. You trust me? After everything? Trust is earned, I replied. This is your opportunity to earn it. You'll start at an entry-level salary, with promotions based on performance, not your name. She nodded slowly, her voice steady. I understand, and thank you. As she stood to leave, I added, Victoria, the flower shop still opens 3 days a week. My grandmother would be happy to teach you a thing or two about roots and growth. For the first time, a genuine smile crossed her face. I'd like that. The news of Victoria's return caused ripples throughout the company. Skepticism was high, But as the weeks passed, her diligence spoke louder than her name. Employees began to see what I had: a sharp mind buried under layers of prejudice and pride, now slowly resurfacing. Michael called me shortly after hearing the news. "That was unexpected," he said cautiously. "Sometimes the best revenge is offering someone the chance to grow," I replied. "I miss you," he admitted after a pause. "I miss who we could have been," I said gently, "but we're where we need to be now." A few months later, I found Victoria working late in the office, poring over customer feedback data. Her glasses perched on her nose, she barely looked up as I entered. "I've been thinking," she said, gesturing to the data, "if we integrate behavioral psychology with your AI systems." I smiled, recognizing the spark of innovation in her eyes. "Go on." That night, driving home, I stopped by the flower shop. The air was fragrant with the scent of freshly arranged bouquets. My grandmother was locking up, her hands stained with petals and pollen. "How's Victoria doing?" she asked, setting a vase in the window. "She's growing," I said with a small smile. "Like you always said, it's all about the roots." My grandmother nodded knowingly. "And you? Are you happy now?" I glanced around the shop where my dreams began, then thought of the empire I had built and the bridges I was learning to mend. "Yes," I replied softly, "not because of success, but because I've stayed true to myself, a flower shop owner who dreamed bigger than her garden." The next morning, headlines announced John Brighton Innovations' latest breakthrough in retail technology. Beneath that, a smaller article read, "Local flower shop celebrates 40 years, a story of roots and growth." On my desk, a fresh bouquet of roses, arranged by Victoria during one of her weekly lessons with my grandmother, reminded me of the journey. Success, I had learned, wasn't just about winning. It was about planting new seeds and nurturing them to grow. From my office window, I could see the city skyline, our corporate headquarters, and the tiny flower shop where it all began. Different worlds, bound together by determination, innovation, and the courage to grow beyond expectations. And me? I still arrange flowers 3 days a week, because no matter how far you grow, some roots are worth keeping.